Sergei Pavlovich. What do you make of this? The heavyweight division for 3 years has really done a terrible job. Now, this is just the truth, okay? And people that follow this channel, we've been very consistent with this. The heavyweight division had nobody speak up and or step up. There was a wide open opportunity. 3 years ago, Jon Jones left 205 pounds. He wasn't clear if he was ever going to return. If he returned, it was going to be at heavyweight. And 3 years ago, it was stated upon his return, he will fight for the championship at heavyweight. Now, I've just got to share with you, 3 years went by. And that statement that I just made never faltered. It was never challenged. And not only was that statement never challenged, Jon was never challenged. If you knew that Jon Jones was coming back for a world title fight at heavyweight, everything you do and say is going to be geared around Jon Jones. To get the fight. And particularly as history played out, right? I mean, as it plays out, they literally grabbed a guy that was 1-1 in his last 2. They weren't looking for much. Do I have a heavyweight that can fog a mirror? I'm not looking to be a jerk about it. I'm just proving my point. We've talked about that over here many times. Where are the heavyweights? It's with good reason that somebody with the success of Jon moving a division would be given a world title fight. That is extremely consistent with other champions who have moved divisions, okay? To be a heavyweight and let somebody smaller than you come in and take what you've worked for and not even speak up. I mean, that's when you're at home with your family. They come to the door wearing a mask and you open the door and let them come in. You don't even try to shut the door in their face. You don't even try to get to your burner. You don't do anything. You just stand back and let them in. Point them in the direction of your TV, point them in the direction of your safe. And I thought it was weird. I thought it was a bad look. I thought it was a chicken move. I couldn't even imagine. I could not imagine letting a smaller guy come into my division and just sidestepping him. It's really hard for me to picture. So, but we had 3 years of this. It wasn't a matter of the local guys or the current prospects or, we were kind of in an influx and we're changing division. It was 3 years of this. It's very relevant that you know, because when Jon finally did come in, what was supposed to be the biggest fight ever. I mean, I want to quote the great Stephen A. Smith, talked about Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. He said it'll be the greatest thing to ever happen to the UFC. That's a powerful statement from a powerful sportscaster, right? Ciryl Gane gets thrown in. It wasn't even discussed. It sold out. It did great business. It goes down in the history books. It might be Jon's single greatest performance, truly. It's the most dominant heavyweight title fight of all time. And that's how it will be remembered. Nothing else will be remembered. Ciryl was 1-1 in his last. None of that's going to be nothing. So I'm bringing this to you because here we are in a little bit of a different time. We've got Jon and Stipe, 2 constants within the division, 2 veterans, 2 champions, 2 guys from the same era who we can't seem to get fight. They were supposed to fight in December. They wanted to fight in March. They agreed on social media to fight in July. We're currently being told, we the audience, that they're going to fight in November. Fair enough. If they're going to fight, fair enough. Let's turn the camera off. Let's all get up and go home. But if they're not going to fight, why would November be any different than last December? Why would November be any different than March? Why would November be any different than July? I'm just asking the question. And meanwhile, we have Sergei Pavlovich. He's 5-5 in his last 5 inside of 5. Triple 5s. 5 guys, 5 knockouts inside of 5 minutes. And Sergei, as well as the next era, I've got to put Aspinall in here. He deserves to be. Absolutely does. Quite frankly, I think Curtis Blaydes deserves to be in there. Curtis Blaydes is becoming quite a veteran, but if you go look at his age, he's a very youthful guy. And they represent the next era of heavyweights. That is a belief. But the other side of the coin is these guys were competitive 3 years ago and they didn't speak up. So we're now in a position where we're being told that Jon, with a victory, might walk away. Nothing left to prove. And so many times when you have a great, when you have a GOAT, so many times the guy to be considered the one that could have beat him is the guy that comes right behind him. So many times when you have a greatest of all time and he steps aside, the very next guy is the one that the public says you sidestepped, you avoided. That's the one that could have beat you. And it's hard to disprove it. I mean, I am not willing to agree that because most people would duck out for a new era that Jon Jones falls into that same category. Jon Jones has been doing stuff from the beginning of his career that no other man can do. That's what being the victor of the most dominant heavyweight title fight in history after 3 years off. Come on, guys. Human beings can't do that. Jon Jones was the youngest world champion of all time. That record hasn't been beaten. Not only has it not been beaten, we don't have any prospects on the way up that we think are going to be the one to come in and beat it. I mean, I'm just sharing for you. Jon does things all the time that nobody else can do. And I'm not sold or bullish on the idea that he's going to tuck and run just because he has some luck with a kickboxer. And it's a tough spot. It's a really tough spot. And in many ways, I'd like to hear from Jon here. It's the last one we need to hear from. That's the champion. Jon's done his part. In all fairness, we can't get on Jon for this. Sergei's done nothing. My own guy, Tom, I'd like him to be a little more vocal. He was hurt. I think we can give him a pass. I don't want Curtis Blaydes to take too big a lumps here, even though, he came up short. Curtis Blaydes has never come short up against anybody other than the absolute top contenders that other guys don't want to fight. And we just aren't going to get Sergei, who is in a prime position. 5 for 5, inside of 5, not to mention he'll sign the contract on a fight that's failed to get signed 3 different times. He should be vocal, he should be stepping up, he should be loud, and he should be boisterous. And you know what I would like to see? I'd like to see Jon call for it. I don't know if I'll get my way. I can't fault Jon. I'd like to, but I can't. I can't fault him if he doesn't do it. It's not his job. He's the champion. It's not his job. But of all the things that Jon has done that no other man could do, and that people said couldn't be done, if he at 35 calls out the leader of the pack of the next era, who without question is named Sergei Pavlovich, if he does that, it's going to be something special. And there's a credit there, and there's a courage there, and there's a competitiveness there that Jon would deserve to be recognized for.